Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown!
Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got it!
Another one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington. Heard on great stations like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref in Evansville, WBRO in Marengo, and around the world on YouTube, where you should subscribe and hit that like button right now to make sure you never miss a show. Brought to you by our good friends at AndyMooreHonda.com, where you will always find the best deals on new and used vehicles, and Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club. Go to your Apple app or Google App Store now. Sign up, start earning Wow rewards today to great places like BB's Market, home of incredible meats, the best in-house made products around, and a full bakery, much more. You can find us there each and every Friday, but not this Friday. No, is it this Friday? Let me double check, because there's a Friday coming up where I won't be able to be there, but we'll let you know. How's everybody going? What a great weekend of sports. College football. Dustin Schutte with me, of course, as always, co-host here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from Outsider.com. What a great weekend of college football, man. Some great games, Dustin. Tennessee, Alabama, first of all. What a great environment. A great game, a great finish. Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson were down there taking in the festivities, supporting Trace's brother, Taven. What a perfect night for that. Then you had later in the evening, you had Utah and USC, an undefeated US Pac 6-0 Pac-12 USC team. What a great game that was, as well. I mean, just some great games. The Indiana game was not bad from a game standpoint. It wasn't great for Indiana fans. It didn't turn out the way they'd like for it to have turned out, but it was still a good game. Indiana, I'll be honest with you, that's 2 weeks in a row that had they been able to just be a little bit better than average, they would have could have won both of those games. So not surprising there. A little news this morning. Jack Tuttle hitting the portal. That's not a surprising move at all to me, but I am surprised to see the timing of it is all, Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, I think in today's college football and really all of college athletics, to me, it's not quite as surprising to see a player leave at any point in the season, just because it's become so common with the transfer portal. It's probably a way for him to get a step up on maybe some of the other guys that might enter the transfer portal. Because look, I mean, recruiting's 24/7, and now with the transfer portal, immediate eligibility, all that stuff, there's going to be some coaches that are going to reach out to him immediately. So it's interesting. I mean, he was not able to beat out Michael Penix for the job. He wasn't able to beat out Peyton Ramsey for the job. He wasn't able to beat out Connor Bazelak for the job. So this kid wants to go somewhere else and play. You can't blame him. It is a little interesting to do in the middle of the season, but at the same time, like I said, because of the way college sports are trending, I'm not surprised by really any timing of anything anymore. It just gives him a leg up, and I'm sure he'll hear from some suitors here in the next couple days. It won't take long at all.
Sean said on our comment on the Andy Moore Honda comment board, bummed to see Tuttle into the portal, but I get it. Truth is, he doesn't believe he would have been the first in line to back up Bazelak if there was ever a change made. Well, I disagree with that, but I don't know that it would have made a difference. Tuttle is not as mobile as Connor Bazelak is, and especially with this particular offense and this particular line, mobility is a must.
Yeah.
So even though I did send out a tweet that in the first half of the football game over this past weekend, that if Connor Bazelak could not get this offense to produce in that half, that I would not be opposed to seeing Jack Tuttle in the second half. He did get the offense moving as they were leading at the half. So not making a change would not have, made any difference. I was just trying to find at that moment they weren't doing anything. But I don't think it's Connor Bazelak. I do wonder, why does Josh Henderson not see the ball more?
That's a good question.
Look at his statistics. And again, I'm not in practice. But I don't understand why he doesn't. He's the only, to my knowledge, if I don't even have the stats pulled up, but I think he may be one of the only ones that had I know he's the only one that had an average of over 2 yards per carry.
He had 8 total touches in the game for 80 yards. 60 of those yards came on 3 catches, and then he had 20 yards on 5 carries, so 4 yards per carry, which if you're Indiana is
twice as much as what you're used to.
Yes. I was going to say it's astronomical. I kind of actually disagree now with this point on Connor Bazelak. It's not completely his fault, but man, that he has got to be better on opening drives. He
also misses a lot of passes.
Yes, he does. And
I was in the end zone when Indiana scored that late touchdown and was going for the 2-point conversion. Mm-hmm. That pass was not even close to
right.
It was I was right there. It was just too high. And I don't know if he needed to be moving on that particular play or what to get better vision, but that it had no chance. And he's a perennial 50% thrower, and that's not great for a quarterback.
No, it's not. And like I said, I agree with you where I don't think it's solely his fault. Obviously, they don't have a run game. They got to depend on him way too much. The offensive line continues to struggle, although I did think it played better on Saturday than maybe it did all season long. But in those situations where you do have time to throw, you cannot be overthrowing receiver. You can't, on the first play of the game, cannot throw a pick. And I know it was batted around, but that, if I remember correctly, it was way too high. I just had a very different feeling about Connor Bazelak after that game than I had in the previous 6 games. So, something's got to get fixed there. You cannot continually overthrow receivers, underthrow receivers, miss wide open targets. For the most, throughout most of the game, he looks pretty solid, but when he's bad, he's really bad.
There's a comment saying that, talking about Indiana soccer doing well after beating number 25 Penn State to get their 800th win, only the 7th program to reach 800 wins and the first to get to 800 in their first 50 seasons. I'll add to that Indiana football is the first to get to 700 losses. I hate to say that, but it is the truth. And that's what we do here. Speak the truth.
That's right.
So Ryan said, let's talk soccer. Oh, well, we'll wait till Mike comes on tomorrow, talk some soccer. But Ryan will be playing down at Eagle Point Saturday at noon. Hopefully it's nice and warm. It's beautiful. He's playing the foul. Look at him. He's getting all over the place. Michael Penix, great game for Washington. I did not see his performance on this particular. What did he do on this past week?
I actually didn't see the game. I know Washington won. They beat Arizona 49-39. I just pulled up his stat line. Let's see. He was 36 of 44 for 516 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also had 13 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. So he had 5 total touchdowns. He averaged 11.7 yards per pass. Or per completion, I should say. Whew.
Things are rolling in Husky land.
They are. My goodness.
DeBoer's got them rolling, baby. Kalen DeBoer has them rolling. Congratulations. I hope that keeps going, but not too good. He needs to stay in Washington for another year. David says, Patrick, great comment. Team captain transfers mid-season.
Ooh, Jack Tuttle was the team captain?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes, that just dawned on me. Great. That's a great comment, Patrick. Great catch. David says, what does the show think about the Indy Star article on Saturday concerning the IU football program losing 700 games, the worst ever for D1, no improvement since we started with football? Well, I mean, I don't need that. I didn't read that article, but I don't really need to. I mean, what's the real question? What do we think about Indiana football? I mean, or the article? Because the article could only relay the truth, but yeah, there hasn't been. And so how much blame can you lay on one guy? You can't lay that on Tom Allen.
No.
I mean, you can. He's the head coach, but Jerry DiNardo couldn't do it. Cam Cameron couldn't do it. Sam White's maybe could have done it had he stayed. Bill Mallory had it going, but never. I mean, it was fun, but it was never elite.
I don't think it's ever going to be. I don't think it's ever going to be elite.
Well, they were. I'll tell you. I really think, though, if the right moves were made within the last couple of years, this program could still be going, but those moves were not made.
I agree with that. I think the program has still made some progress in that Indiana isn't just a walkover. And I think this goes back to,
I don't know.
You go back to, Kevin Wilson, then the transition to Tom Allen. I don't think it's a walkover, but it's not currently trending in a positive direction. I'll say that much. Because it took Kevin Wilson a lot of years to get it up and running to the point where Indiana was competitive seemingly every game. And then it has not, I admit, it has not been good these past 2 years. But I still feel like Indiana football is at least in a slightly better position now than it has been, I don't know, in my lifetime. And I don't mean to sound – I think people will understand why I'm saying that.
I don't know where to put it right now. I saw them reach a high 2 years ago that I did not expect, and that's what I'm talking about. I really think that they could have parlayed that, and
there's no question.
That's where the gigantic mistakes. Well, they had already started prior to that. It's not like it was perfect, but
okay.
But that's my thought on that. And we could talk about it all day. I mean, but here's a good comment. It's a culture of the school, according to, and no, Janice, he did not play. David asks says it's the culture of the school. There's a lot of truth to that. How much the fans and the fans, I have to say this, stop with IU football sucks. Let's bring on basketball. First of all, you got 100 and something guys out there busting their ass playing that they don't want to see that, read that. Why you gotta, I mean, talk about losing the game, whatever, that's fine. But I get tired of seeing that. I really do. I get tired of seeing that because if they were to upset somebody next week, well, that'll change. Oh my. Well, quit with that.
I mean, not only.
I mean, Eric, but then Eric says there's no excuse for Saturday.
It's true.
It is true because that was a winnable game. Patrick says, name a program that completely lost momentum like IU has and regained it without changing the head coach. Oh, I'm not saying.
I can give you an example.
There won't be any changes through next year, in my opinion.
There won't be.
Because of monetary contractual things. I just don't see that happening. I'm not saying that there should be. Don't take that the wrong way. Right. I'm not saying that there needs to be, that there should be. But
I mean, I'm just going to point this out, and maybe people want to hear it, maybe they don't. But There was a 2-year stretch. One of them was the COVID year. 2019, 2020, Purdue was awful. 4-8, 2-4, 2-5, whatever they finished. They did not look good in those. They looked like Indiana looks now. And then 2021 they go 9-4, and then right now they're 5-2 at the top of the Big Ten West. I'm not saying that that's going to happen for Indiana. I'm just saying
Illinois is a great example.
Illinois.
Who's the only team Illinois has lost to this year?
Indiana. Yep.
Put that in your hat. I'm serious. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, because that's a weird thing. Illinois might. I sent out another tweet on Saturday that, to my knowledge, Indiana has never beaten a Big Ten divisional champion. That they may have already accomplished that this season. If Illinois goes on to win, they will have beaten a Big Ten divisional champion.
I do think Illinois is the best team in the West too. So,
and they're getting better.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we got lots more coming up. Keep the comments rolling. You guys are doing a great job. We appreciate you on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. You're killing it. A great lineup, of course. The Fish, Don Fischer, coming up to join us here on the program. Dustin Dopirak as well. Lots more right after this. Brought to you by BB's Market.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting. Hey, Don, how are you today?
Good, boys. How you guys doing?
Good, sir.
Doing well.
Get any golf in over the weekend?
I actually played 18 holes yesterday, with 9 with my wife and 2 of our friends, and then my wife didn't want to play anymore because she said the weekend wore her out, and so she left. We drove in different cars so I could continue to play, and I got 18 in yesterday. It was fun.
I played 9. 7 of them were really, really good. 8 and 9 killed me.
Well, the guy I played with, he and I have this ongoing bet. And I have the last 2 years preceding this year, I pretty much handled him. Every time we play for, like 3-3-3, it's like $10 if you lose all bets. But I have beat him each of the last 3 years now. Or beat him the last 2 years now. I've won like 8-6. Actually the first year I think I won 8-4 or something like that. 8 matches to his 4. We paid match play, of course. And then last year I beat him, I don't know, 6-4 or something like that. We didn't play as much. This year he hardly wanted to play, and he had the lead early. He was leading 2-0-1. We had 1 week where he tied. He was beating me twice. So I beat him a month ago or something like that. And so we played yesterday. I beat him again. Now we're tied. Hopefully we get enough good weather that I can get in one more match and kick his butt again.
You guys play at the same course?
Oh, no, we play different places. I mean, we play all over the place. Yeah, we play the Legends. We played the Legends. We play the Munis in town, that kind of thing. I belong to the Legends, and he's got one of the anniversary memberships. But at any rate, so we play all over, though. We played at his course. He's a Smock guy, which is a Southside golf course, and I don't like Smock, so I won't play with him there.
10 seconds.
So we give him a little crap, and he gives me a lot of crap. So we have a good time.
Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here, coming to you on this Monday, brought to you by our good friends at Southern Stone Restaurant, located at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington, where each and every Wednesday evening at 7:05, you can find the man, Don Fischer, along with Coach Tom Allen for Inside Indiana Football, as well as a great place to grab a bite to eat. Some great food there. Don Fischer with us now, the Dean of College Football Broadcasting. Don, first of all, I'm sure you're aware by now of the Jack Tuttle has entered the transfer portal for Indiana. That's not a surprising move to me. The timing is just very surprising for me.
Well, I think Jack, and I love Jack Tuttle. He's a great kid. I know his dad, of course, who played at Indiana. He's a kicker. And I've known Jack since he came on campus, and I like Jack a lot. I really do. And I understand his frustration. He thought he was going to get an opportunity at some point in his career to be the guy. It has not transpired that way. He's been the backup to Michael Penix for a couple of years, and obviously the backup this year to Connor Bazelak. I understand he wants to play, and he could have left a couple of years ago. So I look at it this way. He served this program. He's been a captain on this football team. I don't think he's gone out there and bellyached to his teammates about the fact that he's not playing. He's been a good leader in that respect, but he wants to play. And at this juncture, I'm sure he's put his name out there just so he finds out who's interested. And if he has interest in somebody, someplace, he's going to find out that very quickly, I'm sure. And I get it. So I can't sit here and badmouth Jack Tuttle in any way, because I just think that's from a player's perspective. Well, from a player's perspective, he's shown that he can play the game, and he's not getting that opportunity now. And today, with the portal and NIL, guys are free agents, so they can do whatever they want. And it's no longer the loyalty to a program, if you know what I mean. It's not going to happen that way any longer. It's just not going to. There'll be a few guys that are loyal no matter what the situation, but most of them are going to go someplace where they think they've got a chance to play.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not at all surprised because of everything you just said, because he has the talent to play, and he is quietly and patiently and supportively filled the position that he has filled. Right. And so, I don't blame him a bit. I'm just surprised by like the timing of it coming out now, because I don't know how much difference it's going to make between now and actually at the semester, or of course he'll need to leave by semester, I'm assuming, but the timing was just a little weird, but that's it. That's the only thing I was surprised about it.
I think more than anything, it's just to get his name out there to get people to, because you get your name out there early, somebody's going to come up and say, hey, you're the guy. We think you can play for us. And if you wait until the end of the season, there are going to be 1,000 guys in that portal again. So he's getting a head start on it. I get that completely. I'm sure he'll finish his semester here at Indiana, and then he'll go wherever he finds a place that they want him. It's that simple.
Here's a nice stat that I did not see. Ed pointed out that the Maryland backup quarterback had more rushing yards than Indiana's backfield in the game. I did not know that stat. That's a pretty good one. Not a good one for Indiana, but
yeah. Why are you bringing that up, sir? Whoever you were.
It was Ed. Was that Ed, or who did that? Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. So here's my thinking on what happened on Saturday. Indiana had that game. They had that ball game in their grasp. You have a silly penalty that takes place that costs you, and you had the play stopped. All you had to do is go celebrate with your teammates. You didn't have to do anything to draw an unsportsmanlike conduct call. And a fifth-year guy does that. And I love this kid. I think he's a great young man. But those kinds of mistakes absolutely kill you. And that certainly was, no question, it was a big part of it. The fumble then on the pass reception by Kobe, another huge mistake that made this ball game impossible to win. Those mistakes, they just can't happen. And they did. And so Indiana loses again. But those two, and there were other things as well. I mean, how about the two interceptions that lead to 10 points?
Well, they gave up 14 points, Don, within a combined 3 minutes and 23 seconds of the first and second half. That was such a hole and they still dug out of it. But man, they put themselves in that hole.
Well, and it's not. We sit here and bellyache about the offense not being able to block anybody, and of course the run game continues to be a real struggle. But at least the passing game in this contest was significant. Connor Bazelak had a chance to work this ball game and was able to accomplish some things. And granted, he wasn't perfect. He obviously threw the picks, but at the same time, the offensive line made progress. I mean, I'm thrilled that Rod Carey has taken over that line. I think he did an incredible job in his first week, whether it was part of the scheming that he talked to Walt Bell about, the different ways to utilize Connor Bazelak with a rollout. Obviously, the first rollout pass wasn't a good one, but nevertheless, you're doing something for the first time or for in a ball game that you haven't done before. And some of the other things that they did, the Donovan McCulley pass was tremendous. Josh Henderson has emerged, in my opinion, as the best running back right now, as far as the guy that's going to take it up inside or be able to get outside, make receptions, those kinds of things. He looks like the most versatile in that area. And Jalen Lucas has got to be used more. It's just that simple. They got to get him out in space with the football in his hands. If that means he plays a slot receiver, then so be it. But they've got to get. But I still think that the offense made progress this week, even though they still can't block for the running game.
Well, they scored.
Dustin, one question before Josh Henderson. Man, I just love when he gets his hands on the balls. Good things happen. Just doesn't seem like that happens enough. Dustin pointed out earlier, he had 8 touches and 80 yards with those touches. And he just does great things. He 5 carries, 20 yards, average 4 yards a carry, catches the ball. He does such a great job. I don't know why they don't use him more.
Well, that you'd have to ask somebody else that question.
We'll do that later, I guess.
Because I don't understand it either, because I think he's shown himself to be the most versatile and the best at all those things that I just talked about. I think he's emerged. And when somebody emerges, that's the guy you go to. I agree with that. So we'll see. I mean, he's getting more work now than he did before, and he deserves it. There's no question about it. At the same time, I think Shivers is a kid that can make things happen too. He just doesn't get the opportunity as much because it doesn't look like to me they block very well for him at all. I mean, it's like every time he runs into a hole, the hole is closed. There's no hole there. So that's a problem. The run game blocking still is a big problem, no question. But they used a true freshman this week in the offensive line at some point. I can't remember him being in there, but I looked at the participation sheet, and there was a true freshman offensive lineman. Was it Bray something? Where did I put that sheet? I put it under someplace. Hold on a second. Let me see here. Where is he? Do I have the right sheet? No.
Janice, I do agree with your comment, Janice. It says IU football needs to change from LEO to LDF. Love Don Fischer. Well, that flows, man. You may have to copyright that. A little LDF. Put an LDF sticker on helmets, on jerseys. What's the LDF on jerseys this season?
Okay, let's get past me. Can we get past me?
It's a hell of a lot more fun to talk about. I'll tell you that.
Well, that may be true, and you make me get a red face all the time.
Well, you got a red hat on, so we can't tell.
I'm glad of that.
It seems we've talked about the offensive line quite a bit, but the thing, for me watching this game that's really disappointing, Don, is the fact that I think Indiana's run defense has maybe not been great this season, but it's been solid. It's been better than their pass defense. Maryland won this game scoring 2 touchdowns without completing a pass and able to solidify it. I mean, Talia Tungabailoa goes down and they have to bring in a backup quarterback. You think that's advantageous in Indiana's favor, and they couldn't get a stop. As you mentioned, you had the 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. You had a fumble on the offensive side, but the run defense, which I thought played pretty well last week against Michigan, just completely shut down and on those last two possessions for Maryland. And that's, to me, very disappointing because it's whatever the opposite of complementary football is, that's what Indiana's playing right now on a week-to-week basis.
Well, and that's the oddity of this thing. The defense has been the strength of this team throughout the season, but we have seen glimpses of negativity. The guys that are running free out there in the defensive backfield, the inability to stop the run game sometimes when the game is on the line. Certainly in this Maryland game, that proved to be the case. I thought when Tagovailoa went out of this ball game, the game was right there for the taking, and it was. But Indiana defense didn't step up like they are capable of doing. It seems to me. It's so frustrating. You have one part of your team that looks better, and then another part of your team that looks like they're not the same team as we've seen previously. Yeah. So you're just sitting there going, you know, it's like the dam that has like a spot here. You plug that hole, and the next thing it starts leaking over here. It's like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, every time you turn around, and honest to God, this has happened for 50 years now for me, because it's so frustrating to see this happen again. And it's Indiana football. It's Murphy's Law. It's been that way for forever. I mean, like I said, I think Tom Allen's a good football coach. I think there are good coaches on this staff. I think there are really good players on this team, and we just can't put it all together. It's just amazing to me.
Yeah, and they've still got a tough schedule to play. You've got a Ohio State team on the schedule. You've still got a Penn State team on the schedule. Still have Purdue on the schedule. So it's not going to get easier. These last 2 weeks, they could have, I hate to say this because it sounds like a homering, they could have beaten Michigan and Maryland in back-to-back weekends and really just sewed their season up. But after you lose those kind of games, it's really like getting punched in the gut a couple of times. It gets harder and harder to come back from that.
Well, the Nebraska game is the game that got away from them that shouldn't have.
That's right. 3 in a row.
The Michigan game, as the Michigan game goes, I still would have said if Indiana's to beat Michigan, they have to play the perfect game. Right. They didn't. Obviously, they got beat and played a great first half and were competitive, but they just couldn't hold up. And I know Tom keeps saying it was 3 quarters, but you could see that the handwriting was on the wall in the third period because Michigan was starting to exert their power, their strength. And that team was not going to be denied, I don't think, in that ball game. The Nebraska game is the game that got away from Indiana and probably destroyed a little bit of their confidence this season. That said, that's the game that to me was the turning point of this season to this point. Can they turn it around? Of course, there's every opportunity to do that with Rutgers next week, a bye week to give the offensive line coach Rod Carey an opportunity to continue growing this offensive line and getting them better. But this is not going to be an easy game either. I mean, Rutgers has 2 weeks to prepare. This is the third time this year that a team has had 2 weeks to prepare for Indiana. So Rutgers with a bye week last week. They fired their offensive coordinator last week. So they're going to be doing different things that we haven't seen before, which is going to cause problems, as we know. They're going to try and take advantage of Indiana, what they see as Indiana weakness, and it's going to be different in that vein. But their run game is strong, and their defense is really good. I mean, their defense is tough, and they're physical. And that's Greg Schiano. He wants this defense to be a physical, tough, hard-nosed defense. And it's going to be a challenge for this Indiana football team. And look what Rutgers did to Indiana last year. They just kicked Indiana's butt. 45-3, I think it was, something like that. At any rate, this is going to be a challenge. And if Indiana can't win this ball game, I just can't conceive that they can beat any of these other teams enough to come up with a bowl possibility at the end of the season. So goals are important. The goal is still out there to be had. You know, you've got motivation there for your players. If the goal's no longer there, you're dead in the water.
Over the weekend, Tennessee beats Alabama. I know you were busy, so because I was trying to catch the end of that game while we were going between the press box and the presser. And shockingly, Alabama, the last I got to see before I had to shut my laptop, Alabama was going to attempt a field goal with, I don't know, there was less than a minute. So I'm like, well, they're going to win this damn game. And the presser started, and then next thing I know, I'm hearing the Tennessee. I'm like, what? That's not possible. Alabama missed the field goal. Somehow Tennessee gets the ball with like maybe 23 seconds and I guess runs a couple of plays, but wins the game. But the big thing is Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson were down there celebrating with Trace's brother Taven, who former Center of Grove quarterback. There's a picture with them there. I'm looking for the picture. There's also a picture with those two in the locker room with the sheriff. We got the marshal here, but with Don, but the sheriff, Peyton Manning was there. So it was a big day. And some people were saying, well, I can't believe they're down. I'm like, I would be there too if I could have been. What an environment. That had to be the greatest environment in college football this weekend. I mean, this year.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. I mean, Tennessee fans have always been great. They sell out that place for every game. And Peyton Manning is probably one of the coolest dudes ever in the history of athletics because he is beloved by everybody. He has got one of the greatest personalities you'll ever run into. If you walk up to Peyton, and I've known Peyton because I did the Colts preseason games when he first got to Indiana and through his career there. And he is one of the nicest men. He makes everybody makes everybody feel like they've known him for years and he's known them for years. Just a tremendous human being. And I love watching him on the football games that he does the things with Eli.
Oh, that's my favorite.
They are so funny.
As a matter of fact, I'm hoping that they are on tonight. I have to look to see. They may not be. I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the greatest. I've got my run, think fast, run fast, Chad Power T-shirt, Don. But what other? He was the guest picker, celebrity picker for Saturday Game Day, and he is just like you said. He's just funny. He's prepared all the time because they came to him when they were picking the Kansas-Oklahoma game, and he said, I haven't cared about a Kansas-Oklahoma game since Mookie Blaylock or Danny Manning beat Mookie Blaylock in '88 at the Final Four, and everybody just busts up because he's always got the perfect line. Make sure you catch Don Fischer at Southern Stone Restaurant this Wednesday, 7:05 starts Inside Indiana Football. When does Inside Indiana Basketball begin?
October 31st.
Okay, so that's not that far away, is it?
Nope. First show of the season with Mike Woodson will be October 31st at Southern Stone. Write that one down, 7:05 on that Monday night, because football is on Wednesdays and basketball shows are on Monday. But you got to look at your schedule each week in basketball because things kind of change with conflicts and things like that through the year. And of course, we'll have a conflict with football too, I think, Thanksgiving week because of the Purdue game that's played that week. So I think, we generally speaking, the basketball shows are on Monday and the football shows are on Wednesday.
Now, I noticed that that falls on October 31st. Is everyone going to be dressing up for Halloween for that particular show?
I won't be dressing up for Halloween. I have a face that's made for radio. Therefore, I don't need to dress up for Halloween. I'll scare everybody if I just show up on camera. So,
yeah, that's my line. My life here. Don Fischer, the greatest, the voice. And I thank you enough, sir. Look forward to seeing you at Southern Stone this Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, guys.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. See you.
The great Don Fischer joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Next up, Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times. Right after this, brought to you by Southern Stone, home of the Indiana football and basketball coaches shows.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal. Good morning, Mr. Dustin Dopirak.
What's going on, Jim? How are you?
Oh, I can't complain.
Hear you.
Reading, I don't know that matters. Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, dang. I meant to say that to Don. That's what it was. I am tired of seeing people post, bring on basketball. I'm tired of football.
Yeah. If you're so worried about basketball, don't even watch the football game in the first place.
That's fine. That's when you just think it and don't say it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's so many people that do. And I'm like, guys, there's 123 kids that are busting their ass. Well, maybe there's 80 of them that are busting their ass and 50 of them that aren't. But
those are the people who are reading the tweets and like, okay, well, I guess it's time to hop in the transfer portal. I'm not going to make an impact here. Nobody cares about football here. They read that stuff.
Yeah, speaking of the
Hello,
portal,
Jim.
I'm currently writing about Jack Tuttle being in the portal.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah.
You're currently writing about it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the perfect topic because the only thing I'm only surprised by the timing. That'll be my question to you. Why
he's not
why
leaving
now?
The team. He's not leaving the team. He's going to stay through the season. I think he's just declaring his intentions to say, hey, anyone who wants a quarterback
available
in 2023, I'm going to be available.
That's what Don said. His name out.
Is he allowed to still, like, he's allowed to play?
He's at practice today, apparently.
Yeah, he just because you've entered the portal, first of all, he could leave if he wanted to leave the team, but he is not leaving the team. And he does not have to, quote unquote, sign with another team. They just have hey, okay, we'll come here. I'll make the change at semester or whatever.
Sorry, a giant bug walked its fat ass into my apartment, so I had to take care of business there.
Nice. Did you had to walk him right back out?
Yep. Yeah, he's gone.
Good morning, Jim B. One Honda certified pre-owned Accord, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios from high atop the 18th fairway. Brought to you by our good friends from Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl, at IndyHomePros.com. Earlier, welcome Dustin Dopirak to the show from the Bloomington Herald-Times. Joins us each and every week. Welcome, sir.
Hello, fellas. What's happening?
Oh, we've talked about a myriad of things. A great weekend of sports, first of all. College football games. We mentioned the Tennessee-Alabama game at Race Thompson. Trace Jackson Davis were down there celebrating. Got a picture in the locker room with the sheriff. Only thing, I'd have had me a cigar going, baby. If I'd have been them, I'd have had that cigar lit. That's the big thing there. But USC losing at Utah Saturday night, another great game that went down to the end. I was able to catch that one. We were both in the press room trying to watch the end of that Tennessee game, but I was able to watch the end of that game. Then we had Bubba Wallace in NASCAR on Sunday getting into a nice little a little pushing match is all it was, but some frustrations that you don't usually see to that level, where he walked maybe 100 yards from his car to the other wrecked car that he had wrecked him after they had a little issue. And, he gets about 10 yards away and drops the helmet with the gloves in. As soon as that happens, it's on. It's like it was on, but Kyle Larson never dropped his, and he's a much smaller dude. And he took a hard shove from Bubba Wallace, who went down to a knee when he come back out. He shoved him like five, 6 times maybe. And Larson just kind of kept turning away, walk away from it, which was a smarter thing because he's a small guy and he would have got his clock clean, number one. And number two, he just doesn't want to mess with any of that stuff, I would imagine. And then we've got Major League Baseball, which is going absolutely nuts, Dustin, because
yes,
I haven't even mentioned I didn't even mention that, Mr. Schutte. The Yankees, they're holding on barely because Cleveland, if they were to beat them tonight, 3 out of the 4 remaining teams would be wild card teams. The Dodgers and the Braves are gone.
And the Mets. I mean, like, and
the Mets. Yeah, another 100. Yeah, I didn't even think about them because they folded so bad.
There were 4. I mean, the National League had 4 really, really good teams that I think could have won the World Series, and all 4 of them are out.
How did the Dodgers? It's not even possible that they lose this. One would think with the pitching staff they have, and San Diego lost one of their best players earlier in the year to suspension. He's not even playing with them.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I guess the thing about it is, again, like, baseball in a small sample size is wild, and it like, in a way it feels wrong because, I mean, the Dodgers beat the Padres by 22 games. 22 games is absurd. Like that, I mean, that's run away crazy. But you play a 5-game series and it can go wrong. Like, the Padres roster is still really, really good. And the Padres pitching is still really, really good. I mean, just when you throw the names down, like for their starters, you're like, okay, all right, well, they got Blake Snell, they got Joe Musgrove, they got Yu Darvish. I can't even remember who started game 1, but that's who beat them. Like that's who beat the Dodgers. Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove. Is there any shame in that? Like, if there's any shame in losing 3 games in a row to Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, and Joe Musgrove? There really isn't. And then you look at the rest of that roster, it's Juan Soto, is in there. Manny Machado. Like, the Padres, like, they are they're an underdog because they fell behind by 22 games. But, I mean, they went and made the biggest moves,
they tried to win. They wanted to win.
Juan Soto is massive. Juan Soto is, I mean, he didn't have a great finish to the year, but like, Juan Soto is a generational talent. Like, he just is. And Manny Machado is one of the top, at worst, 20 players in baseball. I mean, he's terrific.
I know TV doesn't want to see it, but
no, but like, I mean, it's weird, and I feel weird about it from a, like, sort of baseball traditional standpoint. When, like, you have 3 teams that win 100 games. St. Louis has a terrific 93-win season. Wins its division healthily,
and it's St. Louis.
And it's St. Louis, and they ride Pujols and Yachty and Wainwright into the sunset, and they have all kinds of just good feelings around that franchise for the season, and they go down, and everybody goes down. It is what it is. It's just this is the new playoff format. It's just going to be weird to see an NLCS with the 5 and 6 seed with 2 teams that didn't win 90. But hey, at the end of the day, both of them had to beat. San Diego had to beat the Mets and Los Angeles. Philly had to beat St. Louis and Atlanta. So, like, on some level, you're like, all right, well, this is just weird to have these groups there. But, like, they didn't come by it cheaply. It's not like there was a 1-game wild card. I mean, they had to win a 3-game wild card playoff and then a 5-game divisional series. And it's just like, okay, like on one hand, you're like, I don't know if I feel great about this in the first place, just eliminating all those great teams, but they had to earn it. Like, it's not like you could fake it. And again, they both have talent, and they both have talent they spent money on, like, a lot. I mean, Philadelphia has Bryce Harper, like, both of these franchises have just had exorbitant, not free agent signings, but have gotten top of the line class players. And so it shouldn't be, like, in a small sample size, obviously those guys can get you. I mean, Philly can throw out Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler at you, and that gives them a crack at it, and so they managed to get both of those teams and better team, but so it tells you obviously that the top, quarter of the National League was really, really talented. And even if one group of teams was beating up everybody throughout the season, in a 5-game set, they can get you. So, I mean, as much as you're going to look at it and say, well, whoever comes out of there and has to play either Houston, New York, or even Cleveland, who had a terrific, end of its season, they're going to have to be heavy underdogs. Well, like, again, San Diego can throw a roster at you that can beat you. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So it was wild. It was crazy. And again, like from a value of the regular season standpoint, there's something like a little bit like that doesn't sit right with me about it. But on the flip side, like just look at that roster. Forget its record. Look at San Diego's roster and look at Philly's roster. Like, what reason do you have to not think that they can hang with whoever the American League could throw out there?
This sounds very bitter Braves fan because it is. But yeah. I've learned that the bye in the wild card round really doesn't have its benefits. I don't know. This is obviously not a very large sample size, but it's going to be very interesting to see because baseball is such a momentum sport.
Yeah.
And you're throwing something out there that you don't really experience in the regular season, having 4 or 5 days in between your last game and then your first playoff game. Maybe even, I don't remember what it was for the Braves. It might have been 6 days. I don't know that was a factor, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it just because I'm bitter and wanted to see back-to-back World Series. But that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean that's 100% fair. It's just it's I think all that time off makes a difference. Like you said, baseball is such a rhythm sport. You get used to playing every day. And so there's I guess they've sort of not narrowed it down, but basically just they're calling it rest versus rust. The baseballs in terms, and they were like, so okay, like what's the record for the rest teams? What's the record for the rust teams? And obviously in the National League, rest rust won out basically. More or less, it was the teams that had 3 to 5 days off to not play any baseball. It was a struggle, and I think there's momentum is a thing, and for I think San Diego and Philly, in both cases they played 3 wild card games on the road, and then you come back and you play 2 divisional games on the road. Mm-hmm. So when they finally got back, it was a madhouse in, I think, both of those places. I mean, I didn't see Philly as much, but Petco was nuts. I mean, nuts. It was a rock show at San Diego, in games 3 and 4. I mean, it was just it was a buzzsaw. And it was like, all you had to do was sleepwalk through 1 home game and then you were in trouble. You know, if you were the favorite there, if you came in because Los Angeles was like, all right, well, we should be in the World Series. So we're not. And I mean, the LA fan base gets more hate than it deserves. I mean, I think, that there is this sense that no one really cares about it. They care. They really, really care. But they'd been in the playoffs for how many years? Game 2 of the NL Division Series is not like a life-changing moment in Los Angeles or San Diego. It's something they've been waiting for 20 years. It's like 06. So they were rocking. And it was just LA just looked like it got its head, the ceiling was coming down on its head, basically. It was like everything was just like, oh my God, we're going to lose this. Oh my God, we're going to lose this. And it was just, there was this just pervasive sense, and I've got one, a friend of mine, I guess he was former IU professor. He's really tight with Galen Clavio. You guys know him. Matt Zimmerman's a big Dodgers fan. And I always tease him on Twitter at night because he's always doom and gloom on the Dodgers. And I'm like, yeah, your team won 110 games. What is your problem? It was after game 2, he's like, we're done. There's no chance. And I'm like, oh my God, Jesus, take a breath. And I grew up rooting for the Pirates. So I'm like, you guys are obnoxious. Anybody wants to talk about being dead, you guys have no idea what that means. But I'm like, come on, it's game 2. You guys are going to San Diego. You'll be fine. You guys won 100 something years. No, they're screwed. They're done. And they were, and they went to San Diego.
And they were.
Feeling came down on their head. It was incredible. And so, yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, all of those factors made a big difference. So obviously, again, first year with this format, but you get a sense okay, what are the parameters going to be? What are the factors going to be that you're going to have to worry about? And going forward, if you're the favorite, you're going to have to look at some of those things, or not even look at it, just be prepared that all right, you really got to win those first 2 home games that you're going to have if you're going to have a bye. I mean, because if you're going to go, back to their place and they can beat you at their place, their fans are going to be sky high. They're going to be just off the charts, and that's going to be a thing you're going to have to work with. Yeah. Who swept the 101 Mets? The Braves? I guess so. Yeah. I guess because the Padres went to 3, right? The Mets won.
Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah. No, I mean, still. But yeah, no, I mean, Atlanta had a hell of a year. Atlanta had a hell of a year. The Mets had a hell of a year. The Dodgers had a hell of a year. St. Louis had a hell of a year, and they're all out.
It's nuts.
Yep.
And TV does not, like I said, TV hates this because now they desperately want the Yankees to stay in this.
Oh, yes.
Desperately want the New York TV market instead of the Cleveland TV market versus Philadelphia, San Diego, and
I'll say this though. I mean, like, I don't think like I'm thinking back to years when Cleveland was really good. Like, you remember the really good Cleveland teams? Were they such like a TV embarrassment? I don't think so. You know, like, I mean, I watched Game 7, Marlins Cleveland. I absolutely did. You know, and like Cleveland's had some teams now, and I think Cleveland will be jacked about this. Like, I get the idea that, oh, well, you know, it's got to be big markets, and, you know, like, it's got to be the Yankees every year, it's got to be the Dodgers every year. I mean, Cleveland's going to get like the stupid, like, if the Indians get to the World Series, they're going to have a stupid market share at that place. Like, everybody in Cleveland will have its TV on, and I guess that's not the same as having even half of New York's TVs on, but still. Like Cleveland that won't be a bad deal. Like, Cleveland will get up for it.
Your comment lends itself to my theory that we got into an argument about last week, and that is that Jim made the point that college basketball is better when Indiana's good. A lot of people will say that the baseball is better when the Yankees are good. The sport doesn't change; it's just more people are watching it. I think that's, but you say you're going to watch the Cleveland Seattle. You watch that series. Like, that's, to me, I'm going to watch the World Series. Doesn't matter who's in it. The baseball doesn't change. The baseball's still really good. It's just a matter of if there's more people watching.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's all different. Like, in terms of just like because part of it is when the Yankees are good, it's what type of team they have. And it's the type of stars that they have. Like, New York is never going to be good on with a Punch and Judy hitting team or something like that sort of, you know, like, scraps together. Even just what Cleveland's doing. Like, I think Cleveland's exciting. Like, I think like it's sort of fun to watch them because they're like very contact hitting team, and like you've seen the like baseball go the opposite way. But like, yeah, it's cool to watch when you got to line up with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and Rizzo and those guys, and they hit the ball 100 miles, you know, like, and if when a team like that wins, like, it's cool. Like, having superstars does change it. You know?
Sure, but if
that said, they won in '98 with a team that didn't necessarily have a lot of those guys, that had like a bunch of Derek Jeters and Paul O'Neills and Tino Martinez's. So when they won 100 and 16 games, 17 games, whatever it was that year.
Right. I guess my point is, if you put those two guys on another roster, I'm still entertained by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
right. Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I'm going to watch either way. I'm one of those people that's going to watch no matter what. You know, like, baseball's not losing me. It just isn't. But it loses other people. But in terms of like, it can draw very casual fans to, you know, teams like the Yankees, you know, like, but, you know, like the kind of greatest example was like the 16 Cubs. It's like you had this very loaded roster, and it was Chicago, and they hadn't won in how many years, you know, kind of same deal when the Red Sox won. It was like you had this this team of massive superstars that finally break this curse, and like that ropes the history into it. And once it's done, you can't redo it, you know,
right.
Like the Red Sox, I'm sure, didn't draw nearly as much for their subsequent World Series when they won in 07 and they just blitzed Colorado. But in 04, when it was like, are they finally going to do this? Is this really, you know, is the curse going to be broken? Especially after they had rallied back from down 3-0 to beat the Yankees. And like, that's not as sexy of a series if it's not the Yankees. If they don't rally back from 3-0 against New York, if they rally against 3-0 against Cleveland, like, that's still a thing, you know, but like, it being New York is a deal, you know. It evokes all of the echoes of the past and everything like that, and that's what baseball is. It's great, you know, sort of advantage over every other sport is its history in America. You know, like this that goes back to black and white and pre-TV that all of this stuff has been happening. So, like, I guess the bottom line is, look, the Yankees do matter. Like, you can't act like they don't. But I mean, I'll watch no matter what. I'll watch the baseball no matter what. But I mean, the logos on the caps matter, you know, like, as far as how they're going to draw, they always will. So like, I'm with you and against you at the same time, Schutte.
Fair enough.
Indiana returns to the football field this weekend. They travel to.
We're just gonna blow
Rutgers.
past all wants a break so bad.
No, it's fine. Honestly, we'll go long.
Go
ahead.
Actually, it is. No. It is. That's perfect. Actually, let's take a quick break. That's perfect timing. We'll pick up on the Major League Baseball tomorrow when the games happen again. But we've got lots more to talk about. And the great Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times with us, along with Dustin Schutte from NowTsaturday.com. Back with more right after this. Brought to you by our good friends at Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. If you're in the market for a home in Southern Indiana, Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott counties down there, you need Barbara Pop Real Estate Services, who has served that community for 3 decades. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or Matt Lincoln at matt@barbarapop.com. We're back with more Dustin Dopirak right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore.
He only listens to you, Dustin.
Hey, I didn't see it. I was looking away, but it was a great, perfect reminder.
Like, I mean, every time I see you pop up in the corner, I'm like, I've got a point to make, and I want to finish it, but I can see.
What's up to you? Dustin, don't ever make it feel like it's pressure on you. It's more so a signal to Jim to like, okay, after the point's made, let's transition and go into a break and then switch topics. It's kind of the only point I do that for.
I see.
It's not like me telling you to hurry up. We have to go to a commercial. It's more so for Jim.
Okay, I gotcha.
I've never really thought about it like that, though. I'm curious how many other people think that I'm pressuring them to stop talking.
It's not like Schutte says. Yeah. I don't know if
that's what you're supposed to do.
Is the word, but it's like someone sort of like tapping their foot in the corner, like,
hey, at least I'm not like it's like in most TV stations. I feel like people are in your ear, like, oh, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
At least I'm not in here doing that.
Yeah. It's subtle. I like. It's a subtle expression.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it's mainly for Jim, but I mean, it works when you all know what it means too, I guess, just to kind of, because Dustin, I've noticed he's obviously picked up on it. Dustin Schutte, because he comes on with us every day.
Yeah.
What I pick up on?
You pick up on, like, sometimes you'll see me pop in and you'll be like, and I know we got to go to break, and that kind of also signals to Jim, like, oh, it's time to go to a break.
Yep.
It's perfect.
Well, I usually do that with a guest because I make the point, like, I know we got to let you go, so that way.
Yeah. And do you have to go to a Tom Allen presser today too? By the way, Dustin,
I do. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
You just pop off whenever you're ready to go.
I will make some quick football points, and I gotta go.
He's got to get that.
Dog in the crate.
Get that. Got to get that.
Yep. Get down to Tom Allen and get him to tell us why Jack Tuttle's transferring.
Oh boy, have fun with that.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be easy about it. I mean, like the fact that Tuttle's staying.
I mean, it's easy. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, it's easy.
To me, there's no story here.
No,
he wants to play. He's good enough to play.
A 4-star quarterback that's leaving. Like,
yeah, I'm just saying he wants, but
it's not like it doesn't mean like Tom Allen's losing the show.
No, there's no.
You know, it's Tuttle's got one year remaining. He sees the writing on the wall.
It doesn't matter what school this is. He's leaving. It wouldn't matter what the school in the jersey said.
No, I mean, you got to give Tuttle for sticking around.
You want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. On this Monday, brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar, located on Patterson and Rogers, right next door to Southern Stone Restaurant. Great place to pick up an incredible selection of wine with a sommelier on staff and gourmet entrees of all sorts. Everybody I talk to says, that's my favorite place. We'll talk to Tom Allen today about the Jack Tuttle transfer. But again, it's to me, that's pretty cut and dry. It's not like it has nothing to do with, I don't think it has anything to do with the season, has anything to do with the offense, has anything to do with anything other than Jack Tuttle wants to play football, and he does not see a path for that with Connor Bazelak in front of him in this offense, and it's that simple. It's not there's no acrimony. I just don't see anything bad going on there, but that's just that, in my opinion.
It's weird that it's announced right now, but I guess the logic, the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Logistics makes sense, I guess, and I'm sort of, but it does lead you to wonder why more quarterbacks don't do it. Like if you're like if you kind of see the writing on the wall, like it just looks weird for somebody to say I'm checked out at the end of this at halfway through the season. But it's not a whole lot different than when somebody's out of eligibility. And Tuttle's just saying, I guess his presumption is, and he's not leaving until the season ends. But I think they it just allows him to field offers. So it's like, okay, like my services are going to be available. I don't want to just do a whirlwind when the season ends, and just throw darts at the wall and I kind of not really know who anybody is. I want to be aware. Basically, I want to have some time to really think about, who's going to be there and what they're going to have available and what they're going to need and where I really want to go. So, I want to take my time on this decision. And so I want to start getting information now as opposed to waiting until the end of the year. So, I guess from that standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. And it's just, it's not, I think, out of the question for Bazelak to ever lose this starting job, but like, you're not going to take somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of difference in style, like I think Dexter Williams can eventually beat him out. Because he's got more athleticism and escapability. Tuttle's a little bit more athletic, but like he's just not changing the dynamic for you that much. Where like Williams maybe could, or Tuttle's probably a better all-around quarterback. Where like if Bazelak gets hurt between now and the end of the year, like you trust Tuttle more because he stands in and gives you most of what Bazelak gives you. Williams gives you something different. So it's like, Tuttle's never going to win the job, but they can trust him if Bazelak is gets hurt. But if they need to shake up the dynamic, Williams is the move. So because Tuttle doesn't see a path, and I get that. That makes sense.
Saw a mention of Noah Vonleh making the Boston Celtics roster. Another something to keep an eye on. Romeo Langford listed by Keith Smith on Twitter. Who's he with? Contributor to Celtics blog, blah, blah, blah. But mentions 3 teams to keep an eye on. One of those are the San Antonio Spurs, who says they must cut one player. Bates Diop, Romeo Langford, or Weiskamp.
Yeesh.
Does Romeo make the cut?
I guess he's been performing well. I haven't, I'd be lying if I told you I've been paying super close attention to the NBA preseason.
Oh, I haven't either. I just,
so yeah, I think, I think he's been doing some things well. That suggests that he could hang around and get a spot. I'm hopeful for the kid. I hope he gets a crack at it. Just like it just seems like it's been hard for him to just sort of hang on. So I don't want to see Romeo Langford have to go to Europe. Not that there's no shame in that. And obviously a lot of great players have had a lot of great careers in Europe, and there's, there are worse, situations to be in. Tremont Waters, who was part of his rookie class with the Celtics, is on that team with Wembanyama, so he just gets to throw alley-oops to that guy all day long. And there are worse lives to lead, I think, but all the same, it's just sort of, you just sort of want Romeo to get a crack at it. Not he's had cracks at it, but like you want to see him stick around for a while, because he's a really good talent. I think he sort of added stuff to his game. He's had to kind of, take steps back and get in the NBA, knowing that he's not going to be a featured guy like he was in college, and certainly like he was in high school, and like he expected to be one of those kind of chosen players who is somebody's centerpiece as long as he's playing basketball, and he's not that. And so he's got to get used to doing other stuff. And I think he's gotten better at that, defending, stuff like that weren't necessarily a big part of his game in Indiana. So I don't know, but like, those are some other talented players that he's going up against. Wieskamp can shoot the heck of out of the basketball. And I was thinking, hey, like that's a perfect Spurs guy, is Joe Wieskamp. And, Bates Diop's got a lot of talent too. So there's 3 Big Ten guys going for one spot. Not easy.
Dustin Schutte, Notre Dame is 3-3 in football and needs to sweep its remaining unranked opponents just to get to bowl eligibility.
Yep.
How about that?
They lost to Stanford this weekend, and Stanford is not a good team. There's a lot of ups and downs with the first year Marcus Freeman, first year head coach. Don't know if that's a sign of things to come. I don't know if it's just the transition process. I mean, as much as people don't like Brian Kelly, he is a good football coach, and I think that gets lost because he's not a very likable individual. So I don't know.
Himself a lot less likable. Just the way that he's
handled.
Not even handled isn't even the word. Just the accent at LSU was just so
cheesy. Well,
no one will ever let him live that one down.
He should not ever be allowed to live that one down. He should be forced to deal with that for eternity.
I'm so happy to be here in Baton Rouge with all you fine LSU fans.
Molinaro cracks me up with that. I think we all know we don't, Joey Molinaro is just impersonation.
Yes.
It's chef's kiss.
Not only that, but the fact that he said unless the fairy or whatever waves the magic wand and it's $100 million check or whatever he said, and LSU basically delivered. I felt like he left Notre Dame on bad terms in the way he kind of, I want to win national championships or I want to be in the spotlight or whatever. Like, you're at Notre freaking Dame. It wasn't like you were at, another like Maryland or Illinois or someplace like that. Like, you were at Notre Dame. In my opinion, I'm just going to say this because I don't care. You don't want to have the recruiting restrictions that you had at Notre Dame. You don't want to have to follow the rules because it's not what happens at LSU. I mean, you can look into their history. He basically sold out to try to win a national championship. To me, that's what it was. And he got a lot of money to do it. So
right. Which still, I mean, like, I don't know if it's less or more the case, but like sold out to win a national championship. I get that piece. It's just like the SEC operates differently.
Right.
Like it operates differently. And just, I mean, there is the piece that, like, for all the fact that you can go into Florida and get players now, from other places, obviously Indiana's been able to do it. Like, when you're down there, when you're already down there, you have an advantage. You have an advantage. Like, that's like there's an obnoxious amount of talent in the SEC, and there has been for the last 15, 20 years. And there's a reason for that. It's like, you don't have the recruiting restrictions, but also you're just there. You're where all the players are. And there's talent in the Midwest. There's still plenty of talent in the Rust Belt. You can put together a really good program from Rust Belt players. You absolutely can. So I'm not going to try to like overshoot that down. You can still get players in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania and put a really good team together. Or you can go out down in the Southeast and get total freaks and win national championships.
How about the weekend in college football, man?
I got a piece, so I got to see you guys. I got to see you down there.
Go. I will see you soon down at the pressers, man. Dustin,
indeed. Later on
from the Bloomington Herald Times. Can't thank him enough for joining us. As always, enjoy talking to him, having him on. Colts win too. We didn't mention that.
Yes, huge. Their offense actually scored points.
That was by far, without question, Ryan. I almost said Ryan Leaf. Matt Ryan's best game of. I mean, it's easy to say that was his best game of the year, right?
I think so. The offense was finally. It looked like early. If you watch that game in the first quarter, excuse me, it looked like it was going to be the same thing we saw in Jacksonville, where Jacksonville just dinked and dunked all the way down the field. The Colts couldn't get anything going. It looked like we were in for a terrible game. They couldn't run the football, and if you would have said that Matt Ryan has to throw 58 passes in order for the Colts to win, I would have thought the Colts were going to get beat 24 to 10 or something. But 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. We needed to see them get some pass catchers. They had Michael Pittman Jr. had 13 catches. Paris Campbell had 7 catches. Deion Jackson had 10 catches. We saw some things from the Colts offense that we hadn't seen in the first couple of weeks. So maybe, I said last week, that game against the Broncos was so awful that was it a potential watershed moment where the team finally just put their foot down and said, you know what, this is egregious. This can't happen. We've seen enough. We've got to fix something. Jacksonville's not great. They're getting better. But I think what you saw from the Colts was maybe a little bit of that chemistry finally coming together, and now they're 3-2-1. It's going to be very interesting to see if the Colts build off this or if it was just the fact that they were taking advantage of a less than stellar defense. We'll see. But there was some encouraging signs from the Colts and Matt Ryan on Sunday.
Looks like it's time to take another break. And speaking of encouraging signs, Connor Bazelak, I said that that 50% completion, that was not the case this past Saturday, by the way. He threw for nearly 70%, 60%, 69%, 29 of 42, nice. 292 yards, 3 touchdowns. The 2 interceptions are what killed him if it hadn't been for that. But we got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Metalwork Brewing Company, located just off the square in Bloomington at the former Function Brewing, a part of the WOW Club. Make sure you go to your Apple App Store, Google Play, start earning WOW rewards today. Metalworks Brewing Company is into making great craft beers, great metal art, and being a big part of the community. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Dustin, Schutte, and myself right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is
He outthrew Tunga Vailoa. He outcompleted Tunga Vailoa.
I'm tired of hearing that name. I'm tired of the Tagovailoas because no one ever. I don't even think I say his name right.
It's Tunga Vailoa, isn't it?
I thought it was Tagovailoa.
That's how it's spelled, but I think it's Tunga Vailoa. Is how it's pronounced.
A tongue like with an N that's not there.
Yep,
exactly.
Well, like Django. How do you say the guy from Clemson's name?
DJ Uiagalelei.
I'm tired of this. No, we don't need that. That should be illegal.
I call him DJU.
I like that. Good.
You know what?
And Indiana's thing is having, at least in basketball, having players with 2 last names. Jackson Davis, Hood Schifino. I think there's another guy they're recruiting that has 2 last names too that I can't think of right now.
That's the Minnesota strategy.
They do the same thing?
Minnesota football. Brevin Spanford, Mike Brown-Stevens, Chris Ottman-Bell.
Ottman-Bell, yeah.
There's a couple more. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they had it's like 2 last name U or something. I don't know.
You know, the biggest thing for Indiana football is killing them this year. It's not the freaking offense. It's the damn defense.
It's the defense.
Yes, it is.
A defense that gave up to Maryland 442 total yards, 172 on the ground versus 36 for Indiana. Indiana outpassed them 315 to 270, which was great. And penalties, Indiana was great. They only had 3 for 14, except for one of them was just crucial. Maryland had almost 100 yards in penalties, 9 for almost 100 yards. They couldn't take advantage of that.
That dumbass fumble was that was it right there. I was ready. I was home by myself, and I didn't break anything, but I wanted to.
Well, I don't even think that. I think the Davon Matthews unsportsmanlike penalty was bigger.
Yeah, that was the other one. Those 2 things right there.
How about you not? Never mind. I'm going to say something that nice. I'm just not going to say it.
Well, third down defense and third down conversions. 4 of 13 versus 8 of 17.
Who did what?
IU was 4 of 13.
Oh, okay.
Maryland was 50% on third down conversions, basically.
All right, here we go.
Just cover your card fees. Now, there is a limited number of memberships available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. I hope that you guys had a great weekend. It was sure beautiful out there. Getting a little chilly, but that's okay. Hey, I heard that spot, the golf club at Eagle Point, they have their gold anniversary membership sale going on right now. Let's talk about an incredible deal. No matter where you live, I know Ryan comes down and plays Eagle Point from up north. Forrest will come up and play from Georgia. But right now, $299. There you go. You can see it. If you're watching on it, $299 covers your green fees for the next 2 years.
Awesome.
All the way through December 31st of 2024. You just got to pay your card fee. You can book it a week in advance, and weekends and holidays, tee times begin available after 10 a.m. That's a pretty dang on good deal. So if you're a golfer, there you go. Where are we? Let's see. AP
we are here.
25. Georgia, of course, still at the top. Ohio State still number 2. I don't know if they're better than Michigan. We'll find out.
We will.
Tennessee is able to jump in front of Michigan. I don't know why you do that. I think Michigan should have moved up. They shellacked Penn State. They have done nothing but do this all year. So, yeah, it's a great story, but why does Tennessee jump up? Why is it the need that they're better than Michigan?
Because the AP voters don't watch football, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of their
there's an SEC bias.
Yep, 1,000%. Here's what I mean. I could go off on a tangent on this. We're not even to the college football playoff rankings yet, and already I've seen stories out of ESPN about potential number 1 3-team, an SEC 3-team theory about them getting 3 teams in, and I've seen the entire playoff be all 4 teams from the SEC. And if you subscribe to that notion, you're an idiot. I'm just going to point that out. And you're also you're creating this image that just simply isn't true, and that is that the SEC is so much head and shoulders above the rest of college football, and it's not true. They are basically maybe 3 through 14. They are the same as the Big Ten. Maybe not the Big 12. The Pac-12 has got some good teams in there. The ACC is Syracuse is undefeated. NC State lost their starting quarterback, but they've been pretty solid throughout the season. They're still Clemson. The idea that you just completely dismiss every other college football conference and program is crazy to me. Not only that, LSU and South Carolina are both receiving votes in the AP poll. LSU is trash. South Carolina is trash. I don't understand. There needs to be an explanation behind how these AP voters vote every single week. Because a lot of this stuff needs to be revoked. I have gone on a rampage on this for years and years now. It makes no sense as to why Syracuse, undefeated with big wins, they've beaten Purdue. They just got a win over NC State. They're still ranked number 14. They're behind a 5-1 Wake Forest team. They're behind a 6-1 USC team. They're behind a 1-loss Alabama team. They're behind a 1-loss Oregon team that got, I can't say what they got. They got beat bad against Georgia in the opening week. They got, I just want some explanation, because at some point we heard Dustin Dopirak say it, and I love Dustin Dopirak, but last week he said at some point undefeated has to matter. But where do you – and then, a few sentences later said something along the lines of, if I saw a head-to-head matchup, I would put Team X over Team Y. They're the contradictory in those statements. It just doesn't make sense to me. I could go on a rampage on this for years. Bottom line is, I think Maryland and Purdue are both better than Kentucky. I think they're both better than Texas. But because and Mississippi State, but because they're from the SEC, because they're from the Big 12, they're going to get the nod, and those 2 teams from the Big 10 aren't. So that's where it stands.
Well, there you go. That's Dustin getting up on his soapbox.
I did. Yeah, I apologize. But I heard the idea of 4 teams in the college football playoff, and it's absolutely infuriating to me, because it sets a tone. It puts the thought in everybody's mind, and you can't tell me that the network that owns the college football playoff, that owns the ranking show, that doesn't play into their thought process. To say that Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Ole Miss could all make the college football playoff, that sets a precedent that other teams across the country can't live up to. Penn State has been a pretty good team, and Michigan took care of them with ease. Yet it's Tennessee. And by the way, Alabama has almost lost 2 prior games. They did not look good against a bad Texas A&M team. I know they didn't have their starting quarterback. They looked god-awful against Texas. Michigan has at least looked good every single week. And then they get a top 10 win, but instead they drop Penn State down 6 spots. Alabama drops down 3. Whatever. It doesn't make sense. We can move on from this because I'll go on a rampage all day and nobody will want to listen to me ever again.
Kevin mentions Georgia beating up on Michigan in last year's playoff adds to that perception. Maybe. I can't disagree with that because you get these SEC people in their head.
That's fair.
Bradley says we ought to mention the big win UK got over a pretty good Mississippi State team. That was at home, so I don't know. Kentucky's.
Look,
I mean, that's a win. It's a win that's a win that Indiana hasn't gotten. That's a win over a Maryland or a win over Nebraska that Indiana hasn't gotten that they should have gotten. But oh well.
Well, that's
a difference between making a bowl game and not making a bowl game.
Right.
Winning a game like that, although against Mississippi State and losing at home to Maryland.
Kentucky's 3 of their 5 wins: Miami of Ohio, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois. They beat a bad Florida team, and they beat Mississippi State. I'll give them credit for that, but they lost to South Carolina. South Carolina's not great. They lost to Ole Miss at home. They're a top 25 team. I'm just saying I would put Maryland. If you're going to rank Kentucky, rank Purdue and Maryland. Those 2 teams are really good as well.
Yeah, that's been a couple times, I believe, Robert, but specifically if you're thinking of Central Florida, I believe, where they may have deserved that season because they ended up beating a decent Auburn team, I think, in the bowl game that year, if I recall.
Yeah, they did.
Caleb hitting us up says if Illinois has lost to a team similar to South Carolina, they would have dropped in the rankings. Kentucky stayed in despite doing exactly that. I agree.
Thank you, Caleb. Yes,
I agree.
1,000%.
If Illinois, the first game they lose in the Big Ten West, they're going to drop like a rock.
Yes,
they're going to drop like a rock.
Arkansas is 4-3 and got votes.
Now, let's speak of Illinois. Everybody wants to talk about not being able to revive a program. Well, Illinois is not exactly historic in football. Red Granger, the Galloping Ghost, has been gone for 80 years, man. So Illinois has not been, they don't have a ton of history to lay back on the football field, and look what happens to them this year. So yes, you can turn it around. I'm not saying that you're going to become Ohio State or Michigan, because no, you're not, because they've been doing that for 1,000 years and they're so far ahead with so many different things, but you don't have to be that. And I do believe that Indiana can get back to where they were a couple of years ago.
I agree. And they
could have had a decent season this year. It's not going their way.
Look at even Michigan in towards, let's see, was it 2019, 2020? This is not to the same degree, but they had some struggles in 2019. They hit a rut in 2020. Obviously, they were 2-4, 2-5. And then they came back in 2021 and won the Big Ten. Again, that's not as severe. It's not a severe drop off, but I would argue that Michigan going 8-4 or whatever they went in 2019, 9-3, when you're supposed to win the Big Ten, that's a pretty significant drop. And especially when you get beat by Ohio State by 30 points. And that's supposed to be the expectation. Like, they were out of the college football playoff race, and they were out of the hunt for a Big Ten title, I believe, in 2019. So to just get obliterated, like, they took a dip, and then 2020, Jim Harbaugh's job was on the line. And I've already mentioned Purdue from a few years ago.
He had to take a pay cut. What did it 2 years ago? He had to take a pay cut.
Yes, they renegotiated his contract, and basically it was, if you don't win this year, it's over. We're done. We're moving on. So it is possible to have a bounce back year. It is possible to get things back on the right track, but Tom Allen needs to make the right hires in the offseason. He needs to attack the transfer portal because their offensive line has got to get better. And it'll be interesting too. I think what's going to be really interesting is when some of these defensive players who have been there a while, who are, I don't think there's any question they're struggling right now, even though they've got experience, they're struggling. When you get some fresh life in there, when you get some new bodies in there, what's the defense going to look like moving forward? Because remember, these guys have essentially had 3 defensive coordinators, and it's not easy to go from, bing, bang, boom. It's not that easy. They had Kane Womack. They had Charlton Warren. Was that his name? I think so.
Yes.
And then they moved to Chad Wilt / Tom Allen. So there's been a lot of change. They need to have some sort of consistency on that staff, and we'll see if they get it. This is why I still think the program is in better shape overall than it has been in the past, but there's no question things have got to get better this offseason. You've got to try to win some football games this year. Michigan State's a winnable game. Rutgers is a winnable game. I don't know about the other 3 games on the schedule, but if you can at least get to 5-7, I think you feel at least somewhat better heading into the offseason.
I agree. So we've got that to look forward to. And basketball is I didn't realize it was this close. The first show for Don Fischer inside Indiana basketball is October 31st at 7:05 at Southern Stone Restaurant. That's what, 2 weeks away? Is it?
Yes.
2 weeks. 2 weeks exactly from today.
Okay. Yep.
That's nuts.
It is crazy. And then a week after that, the first game, November 7th.
Yeah. Wow is all I can say. It doesn't stop. Which is cool. It keeps everything going. I think, did Indiana get a win in volleyball yesterday?
No, I don't know.
I know that's not a big sport that we normally cover, although big volleyball in the Big Ten is gigantic.
It's incredible. Yes.
Huge. I'll before I started doing more or moved the show here, I didn't realize how big the Big Ten was in volleyball.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I'll tell you that. And I mean, they've got probably 5 of the top programs in the country.
Yes,
without question, maybe more. And it's programs you wouldn't expect. Nebraska, they're one, I think.
Nebraska, Penn State, Purdue's usually pretty good. All
Maryland,
I feel like, yeah.
It's in Indiana is a sport where volleyball is very, very, very popular. There you go, Caleb.
He's got it, man.
Indiana beat Sparty yesterday, 3-2. Oh yeah, Dick Butkus, another great Illinois player. There you go. He was great. When did he play for them, in the 60s? Had to be, because he played pro ball in the 70s. But yeah, Dick Butkus. His dream was to tackle a guy and hit him so hard that his head come off in his helmet. He said that. I remember that. Congratulations to Steve Arrett and the volleyball program. That's not the first. I think that's didn't they beat Iowa this year already as well? 2 big Big Ten wins for them. So congratulations.
Here's a quick
program
rundown.
doing well.
Here's a quick rundown. Nebraska in volleyball rankings. Nebraska's number 3, Wisconsin 5, Ohio State 6, Purdue 9, Minnesota 10, Penn State 14, and then Michigan is tied for 24th, and then Northwestern received votes. So yeah, I'd say the Big Ten's pretty good.
That's 5 in the top 10.
Yep.
And then an additional 3. That's yeah. A third of your
pretty good.
A third of your conference is in the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes life rough. We got to take a break. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Go Team, a part of the WOW Club, WOW Network. Make sure you go there. You can find out all about it. Go to your Apple app or Google Play Store and join the WOW Club. Start earning WOW rewards today. We're back with plenty more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting.
Oh, man.
For all mushroom, what is this? Okay, no, this is something for Jim. Mushroom loving media. That's Jim.
What did he say?
Confetti snacks.
What did it say? I missed it. Where is it?
I got an email. I get these email promos, and it says mushroom loving media. This is I guess it's a superfood confetti mushroom chip. Oh God, that sounds terrible. Ugh. All right.
Where am I? Oh God, show's almost over.
We've got 20 minutes.
Oh, that's right. I forget. Ken Dilger. I know him. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was, we'll talk about this when I come back. I was a sports information director for the All-Star football game the year he played.
Nice.
He was a senior. Yeah. I remember.
You were
him.
an SID, huh?
Dude, I did. I've done it all. I was a SID for the Kentucky Colonels, ABA basketball team back in the early 2000s. Oh, yeah. I've done it all, baby. I've done it all. Man, if you don't remember Butkus, if you don't know who Butkus is, you are not. There you go. I think he was drafted in 66. That makes Butkus and Gale Sayers were both drafted by the Bears in 65 or 66. Wow, that's a great get. Oh my God, that may be the greatest 1-2 punch ever drafted.
All right, here we go.
Find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We'll be right. This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. The weather looks fantastic still. It's going to get cold, I saw, unfortunately. That's not my favorite time of year. We were talking about Illinois football a minute ago and how they are another example of what you can do. Justin mentioned Ken Dilger, a local kid from where he is down at the Heritage Hills area. So he's down by Trent Sisley. Ken Dilger then played at Illinois. I was the SID for the Indiana All-Star football game that year for the South. My friend Greg LaRock was from Fort Wayne, had the North, but that was like, I was still in school, but that was actually what really got my media career restarted, because I used that to meet different people. And I already had an internship set up with WHAS in Louisville. And then Fred at WLKY CBS in Louisville offered me, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go here. They'll probably use me more, which I did, and it was a good decision. But I remember Ken Dilger, big dude, man. He was a big kid.
Yeah.
Robert mentioned, someone mentioned Butkus and Gale Sayers were both drafted by the Bears in 1965. That has to be the best 1-2 draft in the history of the NFL. I don't care which one was 1 and 2. I mean, which one they got first or second. And I'm not saying they were drafted number 1 and 2, but anyway, that 1-2 punch.
Yes.
You've got Gale Sayers in the backfield. Dick Butkus is your middle linebacker. They're both Hall of Famers. What football team had a Hall of Fame middle linebacker at the same time as a Hall of Fame running back?
Oh boy.
Now I know the Giants had Lawrence Taylor and Phil from Moorhead. You know, he's still on CBS.
Phil Simms.
Phil Simms. They had Phil Simms, but they didn't get drafted in the same year. Who is drafted? That's wow. That's pretty cool. Tannis Half 11 says the Celtics reveal Bill Russell's City Edition jerseys today. That'd be cool.
Nice. I haven't seen those yet.
I have not either. That's very cool.
Walter Payton and Mike Singletary. Apparently also.
No way.
Because Five Left said the Bears had it twice, and then Justin, that's what he said.
But were they?
But
wait a minute. But were they drafted in the same year? Is my point.
I could not tell you. Don't know.
Now that is a great combination to have because Sweetness, he was one of my favorites of all time. I love to watch him run the ball, man. Yeah, he was something. He was something. What is the rest of the week? We've got the Indiana Pressers today for football. We'll hear more about Jack Tuttle, but again, it's not a big deal to me. It's not a surprise. It's not. There's no disenchantment other than not playing. That's it.
Right.
Well, he wants to play. I get it. He's going to go find a place where he can play. And there's nothing wrong with that. Caleb says Jawan Morgan was in-house for a workout practice involving Trent Sisley yesterday at the PCB XL League.
How about that?
So there you go. Jawan Morgan, former Hoosier, Trent Sisley, future Hoosier, question mark, from down there at Heritage Hills. He's definitely going to play someplace big. Indiana certainly would like to have him. He is, but he's a sophomore, man. I still can't. We've got to talk about his in high school basketball for 3 more years. So that was about nuts. Justin Beard says Baton was the best football player ever, according to his dad. Well, I'm not going to argue with that. Malcolm Brogdon already injured in Boston. So there's that.
Yep.
Robert thinks that more people know Refrigerator Perry than Dick Butkus.
Ooh.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I mean, it depends on who you ask.
Probably.
But yeah, sometimes I get surprised when I ask somebody something they don't know who. I'm like, really?
You know what? I actually would fight back against that because Dick Butkus tends to stay in the media a little bit, so he's a little bit more of a familiar name. I don't remember the last time I heard about the Fridge in like a media setting.
Commercials.
I know those guys, but
he's done some commercials. I definitely guarantee you in the Chicago area that
yes,
Butkus probably still reigns supreme.
Oh yeah.
Without question. But that's that. The Colts, who do they play this week?
I think they've got the Titans in Nashville. Let me double check, but I'm almost positive they've got another division game this week, and they've taken some momentum into it, which is something. Yes, they play the Titans. The Titans are 3-2, 1:00 CBS. Tennessee 2.5-point favorite, but the Colts got some momentum. Let's see if they can keep it rolling. Jonathan Taylor missed last week. I'd like to see what they look like with him back on the field. I don't know what his status is. I don't know if he's going to be back for that game or not, but it would make a huge difference if he's on the field for them because they could not run the ball at all against Jacksonville.
And then they've got the Commanders at home before going on the road to face the Patriots, whom, man, they got another quarterback. What's it? Great name. What's his last name? The great last name. Not BB, but daggone it. Too many names in my head.
Who did you mention?
The Patriots quarterback.
Current quarterback?
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
Well, the Bailey Zappi, baby.
Oh, Bailey Zappi. That's right. Yes. Okay. Yes. My bad.
Zappi.
That's a great quarterback name, by the way. Bailey Zappi. It sounds like a quarterback.
He's putting the heat on Mac Jones is what he's doing. How about all these young quarterbacks? We've been talking about it for a week.
Yep.
Now you got young quarterbacks pushing young quarterbacks. Crazy. Indianapolis may want to get him as they said in Oh Brother Where Art Thou. Maybe we should get us some of that young quarterback.
Is that what they said?
Well, it was not quarterback. It was
something else.
I forget what it was exactly, but it was funny. But yeah,
it's been a while since I've seen that movie.
I mean, how Bill Belichick just does it. He's closing in on, I think he just hit second all-time wins.
Tied second with not Don Shula, with George Halas, and Don Shula is 23 wins ahead.
Oh, Shula's only 3 wins ahead.
23.
Oh, 23. So that's going to take a couple seasons.
It will. He'll probably have to coach at least 3 more to get to that level, would be my guess, because Patriots aren't great. But yeah, did you see that moment with the rookie? I think his name's Brendan Schooler. He recovered a muff punt and tried to hand it to Belichick. I don't know if it was to signify his record-tying accomplishment or if it was to thank him for putting him on the field. But Belichick could not have been more irritated with a player trying to hand him a football mid-coaching game.
Oh, yeah. Ross had him some Rip Van Winkle over the weekend.
Whoa. How about that?
I saw the picture. Yeah, I saw the picture. Don't worry. It was now Ross, I have to ask, was that your bottle?
And if so, we need to get in touch here.
Yeah, well, too late. I already have. Yeah. Justin thinks the culture in decent shape. Now, hopefully they get it turned around. Hopefully, and that's the thing with the NFL and pro sports. Things change. Look at the Atlanta Braves. They were 10.5 games back. You get things going and things start to come together. Look at the Padres.
Right. I think the thing to remember too with the NFL is, and especially the Colts, and we'll see about the Broncos, they play again tonight. But the thing with the Colts is they're going through that new quarterback phase. So it takes some time to get the chemistry. Practice is one thing, preseason is one thing, but doing it in a game, you hope that because of the way they played against Jacksonville, that they're able to bottle some of that, and maybe they're finally starting to get on the same page. Sometimes it takes, just like go back a few years to the Miami Heat with Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James. They were like 500 through the first 25, 30 games. They were like 15-15. It took some time to get things moving. So now maybe the Colts are finally starting to get a little bit of that momentum. We'll find out a lot, I think, about this team in Nashville this weekend.
I saw earlier that I'm just trying to pull up who put it up for them on the Andy Moore Honda comments line that no Manning cast tonight, unfortunately, returns next week. I wish they would do it every week, man.
I do too.
You can't. It's too good. I won't watch the regular broadcast. I'll be honest with you. I don't care to listen to Jack Buck. If it's not
Joe Buck
or Joe Buck, rather, Jack Buck is his dad. Joe Buck over Peyton and Eli. I would, even though that's not an option tonight, I'm like, it should be.
Right. I agree. I would watch it. Yeah, I would watch it all the time.
I guarantee you. And can you imagine if they had one for, is Pat McAfee going to start doing one?
I think he does one for college football. I don't know about if he does one for the NFL.
That's what I mean. That would be absolutely hilarious to listen to. Did you see? He was on College Football Game Day, by the way. They were at Tennessee for the Alabama game. The sheriff was there. There was I didn't get to see much of it, but I got to see enough, and it was hilarious. They were going to have Peyton lead the band in Rocky Top, which he had done during his playing career, which I'm sure he did the other night after that win. But they had him during College Game Day. And he goes, "Well, I'm not doing this without McAfee." McAfee was on set, and buddy, he got up and sprinted up off the set, down the stairs, around there, and he had to follow. It was just hilarious. McAfee, just hilarious. You gotta love him. Gotta love him.
Oh yeah, he's great. The Colts have had some good dudes play for him and then go into the media. Jeff Saturday, Peyton Manning, Pat McAfee. I don't know if there's probably been some others that I'm going to forget, but they turned out some pretty good personalities.
Wyatt hitting the golf balls on the driving range right now down in Vincennes.
How about that?
Listening to us. Heck yeah. Matt Allen wants to know, Ross, how much was that a pour since that was not your bottle? Yeah, that's scary. It depends on the year. I can tell you that.
It does.
10 to 15 to 20.
I go on when I go to new cities, I go to the liquor store and I try to find rare bottles, and it does not usually work out well for me because typically people know when those bottles are coming in and they don't last very long. And I'm not to the point where I'm going to wait in line for however long to get it.
Nope, you got to go. There's just certain places where you got to go. So, and it's gotten such to ridiculous heights that it's almost
not
you
worth
got to
it.
get lucky. Yeah, you got to get lucky. How you hitting them down there, Wyatt? I mentioned yesterday, I played 9 holes.
$30 per shot. Woo! My
Hey,
bad.
man.
Hey, that just stunned me.
Well, that's what do you expect? Yeah, that's what it goes for.
Yep. Shouldn't be surprised. But it just took me.
I listen to my great golf exploits. Dang it. Through 7 holes yesterday. It was 27.
Oh, wow.
Through 9. But through 9, I was 39.
Well, you know what? I'm still happy with that. You broke 40.
Yeah, but I was having a round, man.
I get it.
I was doing everything right. And then this 8th hole at Eagle Point you've got to stay high up on the left side of the fairway because it all angles down, and it's kind of hard if you're outside of the fairway at all. It's rock hard, and none of that mattered. I put it out of play and just had to 3-putted, only 3-putt of the day, and once that happens, I get so mad.
Yep.
But
one of the best. Well, I don't know about best rounds I've played, but one of the best stretches I've ever had was I had par, birdie, par. I think birdie. I think I was 2 under through 5 holes. I was either 1 or 2 under, and I mean incredible. And I still ended up shooting a 43 on that side, and I was furious.
Matt found a larceny barrel pick this week on his way back from Tennessee.
Oh, nice.
Well, there you go. We should do an Indiana Sports Beat barrel selection, but that costs like $10,000 or something.
Yeah, that would be expensive.
We'd have to have a lot of people go in with that, and you could have it's just
start a
split up
GoFundMe
and all that. Hey, are we in the last minute, John? I think so.
So you always catch me off guard. We got about 2.5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Want to make sure that it didn't go over. Never can have that. Wyatt not hitting it well down there, he said. He's not been out in a couple of weeks. He's got a scramble this weekend. Scrambles are easy, man. Matt's in on the barrel buy, though.
All right, there we go.
Now we just got to get a lot more people.
One down, a lot to go. It would be awesome.
Yeah. That would be crazy. You still have not gone on your bourbon trail tours?
No. When I go, we got to go together. That's part of the deal, right?
Yep. That was Ross. That was the first time he he's ever even seen Pappy, so he had to give it a go. Man, for $30, that was kind of cheap. I got
that. You know what? The more I think about it, that is a good point by you. It is. It's not actually as bad as I thought.
I'm going to assume that was the 10-year, Ross, just out of an assumption on that price because, even I think is it Elijah Craig 22-year. I think that stuff goes for like $75 a pour in a good restaurant.
Ooh,
yeah,
did not know that.
Oh yeah, yes they did. So there's that. Man, a great day as always when you have the voice Don Fischer on, as we do each and every Monday. Grateful for that. Dustin Dopirak from Bloomington Herald Times. Always enjoy having him on the conversation, no matter what. And of course, our co-host Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, who's with us each and every day. Can't tell you how much we appreciate him. And John, the producer. Most importantly, you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be here. And we're back tomorrow to do it again. Can't wait. Mike DeCourcy will join us. Karani Kuzier. We'll see what else we can dig up. We'll also be talking with Tom Allen today about the quarterback, Jack Tuttle, hitting the transfer portal. And as well as we'll be talking to Connor Bazelak and everyone else as well. So we'll have all that for you later and on tomorrow's show. We cannot thank you enough. Appreciate you guys. Look forward to you being back with us tomorrow. Make sure you reach out to our good friends, Reynolds Family Dentistry, for down the southern Indiana area. Looking for a dentist, Dr. J is the way to go. Hey, until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.